let's get into what we're doing. So we're doing something a little different here. We've been writing all semester. This week we're going to also analyze the photography side of journalism, so photojournalism. And while you're not going to be going out and doing a project as far as taking photos, I do think it's important for you to understand the role photos take in journalism, right? The photojournalism, the role that it plays. And also, if this is a career that you go into, many print journalists, many journalists that are writing for the web, they are responsible for taking their own pictures now too. So just kind of understanding, why it's so important to incorporate photos in your journalism and to think it like a photojournalist, even if you're just going to be doing the writing, to think about what photos would I get as a photojournalist, is going to make you more powerful journalist overall. So the first thing you're going to do is watch this documentary. It's two parts, but it's the same documentary here, Power of Photojournalism. And then after you've done that, take a look at Best Photojournalism of Time Magazine in 2020. You can just kind of scroll through here and take a look at all of them. I want you to do this after you watch the photojournalism documentary, because it will shape the way that you look at these photos. You'll be looking at it in a different lens now than maybe you would have before. So very important to do that order. Watch this documentary first, then go through these photos. After watching the video and observing time photos, I then want you to answer the questions in the exercise for this week, and your answers should reflect concepts learned in the video. So let's get into there right now. Here are the questions that you have. I don't have a word count on here, but I hope that you understand now at this point, it's not a one word, or well, definitely not a one word answer, but one sentence answer. Like each one should be a couple paragraphs, which should give you, enough to actually fully be able to answer the question here. And what's also important, and you see that I have it right here, your answers should reflect concepts learned in the video. So you're going to learn some concepts in the video. All these questions are essentially answered in the video. Now, you don't have to do it word for word. You don't have to find the video and pause it, and go word for word each and get me the exact quote. But your answers should reflect the lesson, at least that the video said. And you could always add on to it. You could say, what else you think. But each one of these should have some aspect of what was taught in the video, right? So the other thing you could always do is take a look at these questions. And as you're watching the video, when you hear something that reflects it, you could write down some notes here. And then, of course, I'm not expecting you to do it word for word, but you're paraphrasing in your own words. Here's, how I would answer that. All right. Not this last one here, of course. Think of a recent photo you've seen in the news that left an impact on you, and describe. Also attach the picture and explain why it left an impression on you. If you really don't have a picture, so what I'd like you to do is try to think of a picture that you actually saw recently, right? Go back and find it however you think that you saw it. If you really can't think of a recent picture that had a mark on you, you could always use one of Time's pictures, something that as you were scrolling through that really stood out to you. But I like this one because I feel like as soon as you read this question, if you can think of that picture, it must have had some impact on you. And it's stuck in your head. It was the first thing you thought of, right? So it must still be in there. And I think that's very powerful then to talk about. All right, so you've got that as your main focus for this week. You're also finishing up your op-ed, right? So you've got that. And you're going to begin your final news story. So also, of course, read news every day and study the photos they use in the story. So now you can look at it through this lens, not only the news, but what kind of photos do they use to complement the story. But let's talk about your final assignment now, because, yep, we are there. Your final project, your final big writing project. Due Sunday, May 9th. Let's open up your syllabus too, just so you can get an idea of what this is worth. So if we take a look at the grades here, all the quizzes, 25%, writing assignments and exercises, which you're wrapping up your last exercise right now too, that's 30%. Your writing assignment is 15%. So think about all those exercises that you did. This is half of that, worth about half of that. Same thing with the writing assignments. It's worth about half of that. So it's a good chunk. It could bring you up either way. It could bring you up a notch or down a notch depending on, where you fall on it. So let's take a look at what you're going to do. You will do either a hard news story or a profile story. So basically one of the first two writing projects that you did, not an op-ed, but you can either do a hard news story or a profile story. If you do the hard news story, which is option one, Same as before. All these instructions are very similar to the first one. There's some differences as far as like word count or how many quotes you need to get, but they're very similar to what you did before. So you must cover either a live event or one that you attend in person. You're not using reporting from other stories. I'm going to kind of gloss through this because you've already done this, right? I'll just really bring our attention to maybe some of the differences from the first one. Here's a difference. You have to have at least 2 human sources and 4 quotes that you obtain. The quotes must be recorded by you and original to your reporting. So before you only had to have 1 human source. So if you went to an event, you're interviewing 1 person, right? You're talking to 1 person. In this case, for a hard news story, you're going to need to get 2. You're going to need 2 different sources, 2 humans that you talk to. And a few more quotes then, 4 direct quotes. Now, it could be 3 attributed to one and 1 to the other, 2 and 2, right? You could do that kind of split. But you are getting at least 4 quotes in there. Be between 650 and 750 words. Have short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences. Be written in the third person and in the past tense. Everything else is the same. And then down here, what your story will be graded on, everything is the same, right? So how organized is it? The structure. Is it informative and well-researched? The lead. Is it clear? Is it concise and informative? The quality of the quotes. So the information you actually got is not the fact that you just even got quotes, but what kind of quotes did you get, right? Newsworthiness. Is it newsworthy? AP style. Don't overlook that one. We've done a lot with AP style, right? So the AP style. How are the lessons from the chapter being applied? That's my kind of catch-all, just to see, are you applying what we've been learning this semester? And of course, is it free of spelling or grammatical errors? Right, so very similar, just word count a little bit different, more human sources that you're talking to. All right, if you do the profile story, you must write about an interesting person, and it cannot be a family member or friend. Now look, I know you could pull one on me and feel all proud of yourself, right? You get a family member with a different name, or your friend that who I don't know if they're your friend or not. I know you could do it, but I'm asking for the honor system here. I'm asking that you try to do this to go beyond your comfort zone, right? And do the work that a journalist would do. It could be an acquaintance for sure. Like I've given the example before. If you are doing it on a band and your friend is in a band and you want to do it on a bandmate that you've seen before at parties or you've talked to in some social event, but you don't really know about that person, that's perfectly fine. If you, a pastor at your church, right? A rabbi, whatever, you go and you see that person every week, but you don't really talk to them. You don't really know that much about them besides the brief interaction you have with them for a few minutes every week. That could be a good person to do. So it doesn't have to be a complete stranger, but I'd like you to get somebody that it's not that you know so well. And here's why. It's also to your advantage. Like I've said before, sometimes if you do someone that you know really well, you don't ask all the questions you should. And then you actually end up not having the information that you needed to make it an interesting story because you just assumed something about them. You didn't even ask it because you thought you knew something. And if you did ask, if it was a stranger who asked them, they might have given you a really good answer, something that you didn't really even know about that person. So that's why it is also just usually gets you better stories. All right, I know we just talked about it. Should be someone you do not know at all or just an acquaintance. Your story must not use original report or must not use reporting from others or language from other stories. So if they've been profiled already by the Hartford Courant, you can't just kind of take things that the Hartford Courant did from them, right? You have to have at least 2 human sources and 4 direct quotes. So same as the hard news story. If you're doing it on, let's say, your bandmate, right? Your friends, a band, someone in a band, right? And they're one of the bandmates. So you're doing it on that person. Of course, that person you're interviewing, so you get some of the quotes from them. That's where you could also maybe get a quote from your friend that's in the band, right? It's somebody else who knows that person. So you're doing it on a player on a sports team. You're obviously interviewing the player. Maybe you also get the coach. And you get the coach to say something about them, right? So you're getting two different human sources on there. You have to say who that, just like the book has talked about. You have to attribute it. You have to say who it is. So you can't just say a band member said, give me the band person's name, right? Give me the coach's name. Give the actual attribution to it. Be between 650 and 750 words, so a little bit longer than before. Short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences, 5 at the most. Be written in the third person. Everything else here is just what you did before on your profile story. Define focus. Is the theme presented throughout the story? Background information, clear, concise, and informative. Quality of the quotes, right? The goal method being used. Turning points were addressed. AP style. Lessons from the other class. Lessons from the chapters. And free of spelling and errors. All right. Let's do the one last note that I have here. Note that the assignments will be graded stricter than before. I will be looking to see if you apply the feedback from previous stories. So if you've done these already before, you did a hard news story, you did a profile story in class. This is round 2, right? So this is where I'm looking at. I gave you a bunch of feedback from before. Maybe a bunch, depends on where you fell. But I gave you some feedback before. I gave the class general feedback. We've improved on lessons throughout time. So when I say graded stricter than before, of course in the beginning I know you're learning, so a little bit more lenient on some things. I'll take an example, AP style. Very lenient on AP style when you're first learning, right? But now you've had some time. Now you've had my feedback on assignments. I've done some more exercises with AP style, right? You should be more familiar. So if you're making the same AP mistakes as before and you got a B plus on your assignment, right? Because I took some points off for AP style. Well, now it's really more like a B minus, right? And that's just one example. It could be the same thing. I tell you work on your leads. So the leads are too long. You need one sentence. Get me the hook. Show me that's actually newsworthy in it. And then you give me a 3-sentence lead with no hook. Well, whatever. And of course, it's in combination. That's not the only thing that knocks you down, whatever. But it just as an example. You do that and a few other things in your story that you did the first time, and you got to be on that assignment. It's probably going to be a C now, right? Think of what I was saying before. It's almost like grade inflation. Well, this is like grade deflation. Let's put it that way. Now things are going to be graded stricter because I gave you the feedback. We've gone over it over and over in the semester. I want to see you improving. That's the whole point of the class. I want to see you getting better. So that's what I mean by grading stricter than before. So what can you do? Well, make sure you're going back and taking a look at the feedback. Make sure if you see that you struggled with AP style, you might need to go back and take a look at some of the video or instructions that I gave for AP style and look over those again, right? Go through and take some of those quizzes again. Or I don't know if you can take the quizzes again, but you can go back and look at the answers, right? Or the exercise that you turned in. See what I said about that. Those are the kinds of things you need to be doing now. That's just AP style. For the leads, if you're really struggling with a lead, you rewrite it and send me one. You could always send me something in advance, well in advance. Don't give this to me a day before, right? But if I keep telling you you're struggling with leads and you have written a lead for your story, you could always email it to me, say, hey, Professor Sherrod, what do you think? Is this on track? If that was something that you struggled with, and I could just let you know, yeah, this is better. This is a better lead, or here's where you need to improve, right? So I'm saying this, you should be making a concerted effort now to address some of those weak points from before. All right, that is your assignment. If there's any questions, let me know. I'm not going to have you approve something with me because you've done this before, so you have a good sense. But it doesn't hurt. So if there's something, especially with a hard news story, if there's something you're just not sure, hey, would this count? Could I do it this way? You might as well email me. Just get the confirmation. I'll say, yeah, that's good to go, and you do it. Or we could always brainstorm something. I think I want to do this on this way, but I'm not really sure. That's what editors are for. Yeah, I like that, but this is really what I think the news hook is of it. I think this is what makes it newsworthy. Focus on this when you go and cover it. Focus on talking to these people, right? That might be helpful to you, right? So before you go out and do an event or cover something, you could always talk to me about it. Point is, you have a few weeks to do this right now. You can leverage me. You don't have much more new coming in this class, right? Here on out, it's mostly just your final project. With that said, use me now with that final project, and I can help you out individually, whatever it is your weak point is, or whatever it is that you think you need advice or feedback on. We can work together. But if I don't hear from you, that's okay too. I just assume then you're working on your own, things are good, you don't have any problems, and that's fine too. But just know that I am still here, and I can give you that individual help if you believe that you need it. All right, I'm really looking forward to seeing these. Yes, I will be back on screen next week, though. Each week now we'll have a little bit less and less for me to talk about because we are going to be focusing on this final project. So you have made that transition now into a lot of your work on this. But yes, I will see you next week, and looking forward to seeing how these all turn out as a reflection of everything that you've learned this semester.